Hello viewers, welcome to RWB International. I'm Racer Soul and I will be talking you today through our big, not so big grid of GT4's event running around circuit Paul Ricard. You are joining us for the qualifying. Drivers have about 30 minutes to try and set as good lap time as they can to sort out the grid. We are currently looking at Arnold Siren in RWB Audi BMW number 534 going for his hot lap. Today we have many familiar names such as Mark Elgaard, Ignacy Buček, Christopher Verstappen, who you might remember from our previous race we had at Hungaroring, which was Endurance Series GT4 race. They're probably going to be our biggest possibilities, biggest fighters for the pole position. We can see Elgaard and Verstappen both in the Chevy Camaro, but this time Ignacy Buček switching from the Aston Martin GT4 and jumping into the French Baguette, the little Alpine. Maybe the combination of French track and French car will give him something in advantage as Mark Elgaard going out for his lap time onto the warm-up lap. Currently the track is beautiful, 34 degrees Celsius, it's cloudy with the temperatures around 28, so there will be no issues of having cold tires with these temperatures. Look at Arnold Siren starting his lap time going through the first chicane, part of the circuit which wants the car to just jump out and oversteer as you're getting into the tricky section of turns 4 and 5. Complex where you just have to throw the car in, hope that it sticks and gradually slow down as we are getting onto the straight, climbing up in the speed, shooting through this corner, trying to get the best exit onto Mistral Straight, one of the longest straights in any FIA event. Jump on board with Sion. Into the fast right hander, it's seen. You dare to run wide, you see those markers, just you touch them, your lap time will be invalidated. This is a thing the drivers will have to take care about. Track limits are not your biggest foe in this simulator, but if you push them a little bit too hard, you get slapped on the wrist. Too many slaps, your wrist gets taken off as you will have to go through the pit lane. And as you can see with all the asphalt around the circuit and the lines around, it is quite easy to just go off and forget that you should not gain an advantage, just full throttle and you pick up a warning. And we saw in the last race Ignacy Buček fighting for victory, and he managed to keep it out. His rival picked up a penalty in the final few minutes, so we might be looking at the similar surprises also this race, as we see first lap times coming here and with 2 minutes and 7.4 behind him. They were starting to line up with Paulie just half a second behind, and Barton 2.2 seconds behind, probably just go up to seek out this pace. We'll be looking if he can get any faster in the pink and white Audi. I see more and more drivers coming over the line. Felix Fritsch in the number 1 GT Hub Chevy Camaro has already Phil Warley taking it down to 2 minutes 6.0. Quite a statement, already 1.4 seconds faster than the closest car behind him. Barley looking like he wants to go for another lap. Let's jump into the eyes of Mark Elgard for this lap and see how he fares on his qualifying one. Well, Elgard gives him into second place with 206.4. Almost the second to Phil Varley, so looks like Varley managed to just get a really nice lap for himself there. Looks like it must have been maybe nearly a perfect lap. But with these drivers, we can see they will try to just hunt him for tenths and tenths of a second. I don't think Elgard or anyone else has had their final word yet. And with 20 minutes to go, lap times will go down slowly but steadily. We're currently looking at Georges Gegea for Team Lebanon in the 961 Porsche Cayman down Mistral Straight. Martin Schaefer choosing one of the most ruthless GT4s there are, the notorious Maserati. The car with no ABS, no traction control, because your traction control is your right foot. Who needs assists? You can see a little bit of oversteer from him. Trying to get power down in this car. You don't see this car much often, mainly because of the fact that it does not have any assist. But if you are fast enough, you can unlock some potential in this car. As you can see him just warming up his tires, trying to gain some pressures. currently in P18 with no lap time set. And I personally know Martin, he can be a fast driver, so I wonder how high can he get that Maserati, but with the grid this packed. As we see him going a little bit wide, as there was a car out of the track. Luckily managed to get back to the pit lane. But Martin Schaefer known to be fast amongst the GT people, so let's see. He might cause a stir to some of the people. As we saw Ignacy Bucek jump up into the second place, just 2 tenths off Phil Varley with 2:05.8. As you can see, it is getting closer. It is closer. Ignacy Bucek was fighting for the lead in the past race in Hungaroring, eventually winning the race, but we saw him, he was able to climb his way up towards the leader. Let's see what joy he can bring us today. Goes was there a clinch going for another lap, currently in P4 and already 1.3 seconds behind Varley. That's a big gap already in P4. It looks more like Formula One. With just Mercedes and Verstappen in front and everyone else behind. Well, as I'm talking, Georgios Gegea jumping with that Porsche into P4, but still 0.9 of a second behind Phil Varley. Varley looking almost untouchable. Emil Sierblum slotting himself into the P5 as he manages to just negotiate the Chevrolet into one, but a little bit of slide, there will be a few tenths off, few tenths lost in the GOAT Racing McLaren, which nicely resembles the Vodafone liveried Formula One cars with that chrome and red. Some say the most beautiful F1 cars ever made, and well, they were beautiful, but we have each different taste, don't we? Meanwhile, James Foley looks to be on a good lap, currently 0.4 up on his previous sector. Let's see, in the BMW, where he can get himself, currently P9. The final corners, no traffic, that's gonna be important with 25 cars on the track. You will have to find that space for yourself, although we had more cars on the circuit. But still, as it goes up into P6 on a 26.9. Meanwhile, Ignacy Bucek half a second up on his previous best. This looks, as he loses the car, full scene. There might be lots of few tenths there. Let's see if he can get the car. Let's watch on the rest of this hot lap. And Bucek jumps to P1 with the 2:05.3, but Martin Ulrich just out of nowhere jumped into provisional P1, but was soon beaten by Bucek as he goes wide, and yeah, that's an aborted lap from Ulrich. But now Phil Warley just being the one who is 2 tenths behind. Let's see what can be his response to Ignacy Bucek as he starts his hot lap. Meanwhile, Mark Elgaard as well on a good lap, 1.5 up on his previous best. Maybe looking at dislodging Bucek from the provisional pole position. Let's see, out of the final corner, foot down. Let's see what Elgaard can make. As he goes to P1 on a 0.7, half a second in front of Bucek. As you can see also his teammate Verstappen behind. Maybe there was a little bit of slipstreaming going on the back straight, which managed to help Elgaard get into that position, and that is one of the important things with your teammates. Just helping each other to get that lap time. Let's look at Emma Plate, currently P22 in the McLaren. Jumping back to Verstappen, you can see that slipstreaming that I was talking about from before, gaining just a little bit of time in the air packet of his teammate. You can see that Elgaard just pulling away, giving Verstappen the, well, what would be the clean air as Verstappen goes tiny bit wide. Was that off track? Well, hopefully he kept the wheels on the track, but as he's continuing, looks like it wasn't off track. But it was really close, and let's see what he can do. Can he dislodge Elgaard and make it 1-2 for the McLaren Racing team? Are they in the final few corners? And it's just P2 on a 2:05.09, 3 tenths behind his teammate, and it is currently a 1-2 for McLaren Racing Team Camaros of Elgaard and Verstappen, respectively, with also numbers lined up 7-3, 7-3-1. Everyone is currently just in a pit lane or looking for an outlap. Joshua Barton, we saw him at the beginning being a bit higher, but as people started to get faster, Joshua fell down just a little bit, currently 3.8 behind Mark Elgaard. Let's see what he can rustle up on this lap. Still few people that need to set the lap time. As Barton goes over the line to start his hot lap. Looking through the eyes of Jack Donaldson in P14, he is on a faster lap than he was before, looking to jump up a few positions, maybe crack the top 10. Let's see, onto the start finish straight, straightening out the steering wheel. Well, where can Jack Donaldson throw himself up to? This is just P12, 10th away from the top 10. Meanwhile, Javier Eugeni in the V8 Racing Chevrolet as well on a fast lap. And jumps up into the top 10 on a 206.5. Currently in P8. As we jump onto Martin Ulrich. Finishing his lap. Currently being about 4 tenths up. Can he dislodge Verstappen? Can he split the McLaren Racing teammates? To the line, oh, just about. Little loss out of the final corner, and he's not even a tenth. That's slightly more than 100 of a second behind Chris Verstappen, but currently in P3, which would be still a good starting position for him. Jumping back to Emil Sieblin, the tough fight at the edge of the top 10. And he jumps up into P6. Let's look at Christopher Streffen, who seems to be on a fast lap, but no, as he runs wide, nullifying this lap. Currently as well, Nazi Bucek. Tracking it don't seem to be a problem for these two. But it is not the time we would be trying to pick up some debris, or are they looking for the fastest lap time possible? Oh, we shall see. Al-Sadir clinch. Currently 10th position. Sliding a little bit through the corner, that will be a tiny time loss. Let's see if he can make up for it somewhere else on a track. As William Day is starting his first flying lap in P21 with 5 minutes to go, he did not leave himself much to do. Let's look through his eyes and see how he does a hot lap with just 5 minutes to go. Well, final 3 minutes of the qualifying, and I'm joined by my friend Coolmanic helping me out in the commentary booth. Say hello.
Hello there, it's so good to join you today for this race at Paul Ricard, and I think it's going to be a good one.
Well, I sure hope it is. 25 GT4s. This wheel day, we were watching him through that lap, and he did not manage to jump that much. To be fair, he stayed in P21, currently almost 4 seconds behind our leader, Mark Elgard. But we saw that was a scrappy lap from him, as on the limits, with the track limits. Maybe he can get a little bit further.
Yeah, indeed, I think he will be hoping to do so in the remainder of this session. Not long to go though, only 2 minutes, so we'll see who can move up in this last 2 minutes. Only time for one lap really if you are starting it past now. And at the top we have the two Chevrolets, Elgard and Verstappen.
Yeah, the McLeod Racing team teammates, they've been looking fast in the previous race at Hungary, and surely they're going to be fast also today. Emma Plate jumping up into P4. As we can see, it's 3 tenths between the top 4, with Buchek just another 2 tenths behind. Currently, Verstappen looks to be on the fast lap. But we can see him, yeah, slowing down, so probably there was a cut somewhere on the way while trying to chase his teammate.
Yes, certainly. And actually, if you look at the weather, I don't know if you've seen, but it says in 30 minutes heavy rain and in 10 minutes rain. So that would be very interesting. If the race is right after this in game, I'm not sure.
Well, I wouldn't want to be Martin Schaefer in the Maserati then. I know he's fast, but oh boy! That car in heavy rain. I hope he had some ballet lessons, and already we can see him just sliding, and it's just dry.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be a struggle. I just checked, and actually the race is on Sunday in game and the qualification is on Saturday, so it will be different. So this won't have actually any bearing on the race, but it still could be wet, we don't know. But this just shows that it can be quite random, and we might see some rain in the race.
I did one race around Paul Ricard. It was wet. I'm still trying to forget it. Let's see, over the line, Martin Schaefer has been on a better lap. Let's see if he can jump up into the top 10, although it would require a better lap, and just P12 with just few seconds remaining. Let's see if he can make this one count, or was that his only chance? Meanwhile, Martin Ulrich jumping into the second place. He tried that before, then he managed to split McLeod Racing teammates, but only by, what is it? Not even a tenth between him and Verstappen. Plate takes the checkered flag. Martin Ulrich, he is not done yet. He wants that pole position. Currently on a faster lap. Through the long, everlasting slowing down right-hander into final few corners. Let's see if he can hold it together and dislodge Elgard from that pole position.
Yeah, it's looked pretty tidy so far. It looks like it will be a decent lap, but will it be enough to get him onto pole position? 2.5 tenths he's got to find, and that's not easy, but I'm sure it's in him. But can he put the lap together? We're going to see now as he comes through the final corner, approaching that start-finish line, and he comes into the pit, so obviously was not good enough for pole position. He wasn't improving, and he knows that. That is the session, and I expect he will be there in second, as the only person still running is Foley.
Yeah, there was a tiny improvement about those 2 tenths in the second sector, but it just went away from him in the final sector. And for Ricard, even though it is flat track and not the left, oh no, it's raining. It's raining, boys.
Oh no. Okay, so
back to my thought. For Ricard is flat, but it's not so easy. Mainly the final sector with the corners that are just late apexes, all of them. You have to be really precise.
Yeah, for sure. And now with the rain, it's going to be so difficult for all these drivers. As you said, the Maserati of Chafer is going to struggle, and I think it's going to be a race of attrition here now. Who can survive and just not spin in a way? Because the rain looks pretty heavy from what I can see.
Well, we can see in the chat in the game, Gianni Lenz, the race is going to be on Sunday, so it's going to be fine. Oh man, maybe a little bit of driver curse coming from Lenz. And
Yeah,
his
certainly.
teammate Martin Schaefer won't be happy with this weather. As you can see, the track is wet. It's 40% rain and 40% wet, and it does not look like it's going to ease off in the next 30 minutes. Although the
Yeah,
temperatures are quite high. What do you think?
yeah, that's interesting. So it'll be a weird dynamic when it comes to the pressures. It will be difficult because I'm sure most of them will be guessing when it comes to wet pressures. So it'll be interesting. I think that will be crucial to the first part of the race, who can get the pressures right. And I completely agree with Cos in the chat saying those cars really did look bad enough in dry. Now in the wet, it is going to be a nightmare for these drivers.
Well, I think they have enough skill to show us that they can do it in rain as well. We'll be looking after the race in Hungary. We saw our pole sitters and people in the top 5 slowly starting to fade away in a race. Wondering how good the race pace will be for Elgard, Ulrich, Verstappen if they can do those hot laps the same way in a race, because it's 1 hour and 30 minutes. So no mean feat in these cars. Consistency will be probably the most important part.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know much. I know there's no mandatory pit stop, and if it was dry, I think it was going to be touch and go on the fuel. But with wet tires, I don't know how well they last on these GT4 tires, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And yeah, as you say, doing laps 1.5 is very different from doing hot laps. So this qualifying really might not have too much impact on the final result on the race.
We're just a few seconds away from the start of formation lap. The only lap they will get before they're just thrown into the unknown. How would you go about it? Would you? Well, you can't actually drive that fast because of the AI restrictor, but how would you go? Would you try to push the car a little bit to find where is the grip and where it is not, or would you just go slowly and try to feel the car how it is?
I mean, personally, I think I would maybe just for a couple of corners try and back off and then maybe push through the corner, see how much grip there is actually. But it's never easy, and I think the first few laps of them would be really cautious and just try not to spin, try not to make contact, and get through the first phase of the race nice and cleanly, and then you can focus on putting in the consistent laps rather than having to try and win the race on lap 1. And you can't win the race on lap 1 in these races, and all these drivers know that. So hopefully, it should be nice and clean.
Yes, I just noticed Valery Solheim starting from the pit lane from P24. That might not be the worst idea, considering he was at the back of the grid, and with these many cars and unknown conditions, you might actually avoid some mistakes from people and have a clean race. As you see, Verstappen slowing down a little bit on the formation lap. That's uncommon, and he should try to get back as soon as possible, because the AI does not like drivers that are off the place they should be on.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened there. That was strange. He just stopped on the inside of the corner. Hopefully he can get back to where he's meant to be without incurring any sort of penalty, or I think it teleports you or something. But hopefully that doesn't happen to him. Hopefully he can get back, but he doesn't seem to be in too much of a hurry to do so. So interesting to see here, but some of the drivers weaving, trying to get some temperature into the tyres, others just trying to take it safe and get onto the race. I'm sure there'll be nerves throughout the grid right now. So let's run you through the top 10. We have Elgard in the Chevrolet, Ulrich in the BMW, Verstappen in the other Chevrolet, and then we have E-Plate in the McLaren, Buschek in the Alpine, an unusual cast unusual car to see out here. Varley in the BMW, Kruger in the Chevrolet, Shablom another McLaren, Eugenie in the Chevrolet, and then Foley 10th in the BMW number 56. As we're on board with Elgard here, coming up to the fast right-hander, or the usually fast right-hander of turn 10. I don't know how fast it will be this time, as it's not easy in the wet. I'm sure there'll be a couple of drifts, couple people running wide, hopefully no spins, but I think we do expect a couple of spins considering how tricky these conditions are. But some of these drivers really are very fast and very consistent, and hopefully they can put those skills to good use here to try and get a good result and get a clean race. So now coming through the final sector, we have Elgard, and they're now starting to line up in double file. This is the crucial part of the starting procedure, getting in position, not being out of position. Everybody seems to be in position for now. E-plate just slipping across to the left-hand lane. So it will be these drivers coming through the last few corners, now coming through turn 14, this is, I believe. Verstappen here on the right-hand side of the track, which I think that's the wrong side when you consider that Eldad is on the left, but maybe not. Maybe the game is bugged somehow, but we will come through the final corner onto the start-finish straight, and it is going to be waiting for the green flag here. Eldad from Ulrich from Verstappen, and Verstappen's into the pits actually. Verstappen is into the pits. Why is that? He has stopped on pit entry. There's obviously some issue. And now as we have the green flag, Verstappen is in the pits and stopped with his indicators on. So I don't know what's happening there.
Possibly excuse the cameras. There was a slight technical difficulty on my side with the camera system. We'll try to get to the leaders as soon as possible.
All right, well, while that's happening, the Alpine, which was in the pits, has not moved, so that's Solheim. So he was going to start from the pits maybe, but maybe just had to leave or something. And I really don't know what's happened to the Treppen here. He's coming down. Is he going to stop in the pits? Doesn't look like it, so he's just coming out. I can tell you that Eldad's leading as they come through the first sector. Eldad's leading from Ulrich, and then Plate is in third. Then we have Varley, Kruger, Buschek, Foley, Shablom, the Porsche of Gege, and Eugenie in the top 10. And doesn't look to have been too many instances. They all seem to be rather close together. Not sure what's happened with Verstappen, but he's come out the pits and he's got his indicator on, but I don't know really what he wants with that. So strange to see, but hopefully he can get any issues that he is having sorted out as we wait for these technical difficulties to be solved. But still looks like it is Eldad from Ulrich from Plate, and then Varley in the top 4. But Varley seems to be getting closest. There's a gap to Kruger, 2 seconds. So this is all we can see at the moment, unfortunately. But I can tell you that that is who is leading. As there's been an accident involving car number 1 and car number 7. So an accident involving the 2 Chevrolets of Fritsch and Lenz, who were down the order in something like P18 or so. So as we just try to fix this issue here, sorry about this, but we're trying to get the stream back up and running as it should be. Eldad is leading from Ulrich, from Plate, from Varley, and now we are on board with Varley, or Eldad rather, the Chevrolet, coming to complete the first lap, and it's still kept it clean for now. Almost everyone's kept it clean. We know there's been an incident with a couple of cars, but all looks okay for now, for at least for the leaders, with Eldad from Ulrich. And now Varley has gotten past Plate, so Varley ahead of Plate in 3rd place, but it's very close between them as they come across the line. They might just be side by side. I don't think they are, so I think Varley has got that position if I'm incorrect, but someone's gone off wide at turn 1, so that might just be Varley. It's hard to tell at the moment. We are trying to sort this issue. But now Eldard coming through this tough end to the first sector. And we will switch away once again. Sorry about this. We are really trying to fix the stream here. But just some technical issues.
Well, technology seems to be against you from time to time. As you can still see Ehrlich managed to put himself into the second place, and we saw Varley, who went back into fourth place. We were looking off the rear wing of Martin Schaefer in that mentioned Maserati, looking at Foley following closely behind on this long straight.
Yeah, now we'll see if Jones can get to the back of Schaefer. He can't quite there, coming through this fast right-hander as we switch to Eldard, and that is Ulrich off wide. So Ulrich has gone out wide, coming through the double right-hander, and we'll see. He has managed to retain the position, but he has lost time to Plate, and he's lost time to Eldard as well. So the gap to Eldard is going out, and he is now coming under pressure from Plate. So not ideal for him, as we see Buschek in the Alpine. Don't see many Alpines out here, but he is in P8, doing just fine. He's right on the back of Eugenie in P7, the number 68 Chevrolet. Coming up to the final corner. This is, you can go for a dive here if you really want, but I don't think he will. He's sensible enough. He's not quite close enough, but he will try and get some sort of run out the final corner. But we do know that the Alpine really is not the fastest car. So Eldard still leads from Ulrich from Plate, but the real battle here is with Buschek and Eugenie, as everyone tries to settle down, tries to spread out, and tries to get into a rhythm for this race.
Well, we have regained the control over the AI. Feels more like a sci-fi movie when AI is trying to destroy us. But this time we make it back. As you're looking back on Justin Berlinbor's an automotive BMW chasing Felix Fritsch in the bright green Camaro for P20.
Yeah, I think this might be a battle between two cars who have his incidents, because I know the number 1 had an incident earlier with the number 7, so not ideal for them, as we see Day in the Chevrolet closing up on the BMW of Donaldson, getting very close to him as they come through the left hand of turn 7 onto the long straight, trying to get the best run out of them possible, and he looks to have got the run. He is flashing his lights, or he's flashing his indicators. I'm not sure what that's all about, but Donaldson's keeping to the inside here. Keeping to the right, not sure quite what Day is doing. I don't know if that's Natston or something, but he will maybe try and make an overtake here. He's not quite close enough, but everyone's keeping to the right here, which is interesting. But now we see Donaldson swing out to the left, maybe trying to go for a move on the Porsche, and he might just have done it. He looked to be getting it done, but he's very, very wide, and that's a mistake. And he's run over the track markers. That might just be a warning for him, as we see him being overtaken by Day. But now we switch to the front, the battle for the podium, and it's between Ulrich and Plate, or rather Plate and Kruger, sorry, as Kruger just gets past Plate coming through this final sector. It is very tight and twisty. Plate all over the curb trying to take the shortest run through turn 13, but coming through turn 14 now has lost position and seems to be dropping back here at the start of the race.
Well, it's slipping and sliding between the cars. We already see Emma Plate trying to make those positions. The Chevrolet, it should be the faster car in a straight line. But as we heard from Verstappen and Elgaard in past racing Hungaroring, it was quite heavy, so might be a little bit more struggle for Kruger trying to keep the car on the circuit. We have also Phil Warley, who was contender for the pole position, but he fell down during the qualifying. Let's see if he can climb back into the higher positions. As you see Emma Plate pushing Kruger, who goes just a tiny bit wide onto the curbs. We know there is no grip on curbs, so maybe Emma Plate can get a better run onto the start start finish straight into the back straight, but with these conditions it will be really hard for the drivers to get the power down to get any slingshot advantage. You see Plate getting that close through the slipstream, pulling to the right hand side. He will get the inside for Seam, but will Kruger try to fight back, although Plate looks to be in front, and that is a podium position for Emo Plate. Let's see what he can do, and if he can hold it though, it goes wide. We will see many wide moments throughout these corners, I'm sure about it. As we see a stop and go penalty, 10 seconds for Justin Burley in the number 12, so there might have been something we don't know about happening. Looking at Christoph Verstappen, he is on the circuit, he is running, but with a big gap behind the closest guy, which is James Foley. Well, this looks to be a comeback drive for Verstappen. Let's see how far he can go, and still Valery Solheim looks as if pulled out of the race.
Yeah, that's not ideal for Solheim, but I just want to mention, whatever happens set purple lap, actually it's just been beat, but he had just set a that lap, so he seems to have pace, but obviously just some sort of issue there on the formation lap and at the start of the race, which has put him right to the back of the field. And actually, Elgard had a gap a bit more of 2.5 seconds last time I looked, but he lost a whole second that lap to Ulrich. So maybe some sort of mistake there from Elgard in the last sector, I believe. So he's lost a second there, but still 1.7 seconds. So still should be comfortable, but he needs to keep moving. He needs to keep it clean, but has to keep going at some sort of speed not to get caught by Ulrich. As we look back at the fight for P5.
Well, in the final sector, I remember there are puddles everywhere, so it's not that hard to lose time. As we see, who is it? It was Sirblom just bumping into Phil Varley and losing time. Oh boy, he did. He lost them both time, and Javier Evgeny just says, "Psych, thank you very much. I'll take that," and he grabs them both.
Yeah, very good there, but that contact wasn't ideal, but I think they won't mind too much. The damage, if there was any, shouldn't affect them too much in these 4 cars. But now we go on board with Shablom, trying to close on Varley. Not quite going to do it, but you see Eugenie wide there, so can anything be done by Varley or Shablom? Eugenie comes back onto the track, doesn't hit the marker ball, so I think we should be fine in terms of... But down the inside goes Shablom, just squeezes it in there, and actually... Eugenie's run wide again onto the blue tarmac runoff, so he's struggling here, but Shablom's through and now right on the back of Varley, trying to get past him again, as he failed last time through turn 7 with a bit of contact, but now Varley's struggling and Shablom really seems to be on it here, pressuring Varley for a move coming through this last sector.
Into the eyes of Emil Sjöblom, trying to pressure the BMW in front of him into a mistake. But we've got things happening at the front. The top guys still have not gone far away from each other. Animal Plate is looking to be pressuring Kruger back again. Kruger got past Animal Plate, but it does not look like he's pulling away anytime soon. More like Plate is looking to get that position back from Kruger.
Yeah, Plate has the fastest purple middle sector last lap, so obviously not struggling too much, but lost half a second in the first sector. But very interested to see the dynamic here. Elgard did not lose any time that lap, but didn't gain any time, so maybe Ulrich is coming into his rhythm, finding the grip, and now trying to set some times. As we look back at the BMW here in P18 of, I believe this is RWB Audi, at least that's what the team name is, I'm not quite sure, but he's going to start coming under pressure from Fritz soon if he isn't careful, as Fritz in the Chevrolet seems to have a bit more pace than him coming through turns 1 and 2, and will try and close, maybe to try to go for a move into turn 10 at the end of that very long back straight. Now we see Ulrich in the BMW P2, 1.9 seconds back, so the gap pretty stable. His plates run wide again, so not ideal from him, but doesn't seem to be losing too much, but he's still going to start to come under pressure from Kruder. Kruder getting very close to the back of him there as we come through turns 11. The double right-hander there, but now coming through turn 12. Doesn't look like Kruder will be close enough to pressure him, but they're both slightly wide, but they will cut back. You have to take these nice wide entries to try and get the run onto the straights between the corners. It's very important here at this flat Paul Ricard circuit, as plate now again coming under pressure from Kruder, but looks to us just made a slight gap in those last couple of corners, so should be all right for the next half a lap or so. But we're seeing mistakes being made, and it really is not easy conditions out here.
As we're looking through the grid, it looks like we have just some smaller groups forming here and there. Just drivers making tiny mistakes, and you see groups of 2, 3, 4. Currently Emil Schieblen pushing Phil Warley, still closely behind the BMW driver. Going through the first few corners, and you can't see much out of these cars. As you can see, Schieblen going around the outside into what is a turn 3 or 4 at this point, but just not enough grip to make the move around there. Warley is under pressure. You can see the compromised lines, but as these corners go, the lines somewhat fade into one. As you can see, Schieblen trying to straighten out the run onto the straight as much as he can, and you can see Warley going off, going wide, and this gives Schieblen what he needs, just that space to now pull ahead of the BMW. As Warley will be getting back into the slipstream. Try to get back at Schieblen at the end of the straight. You can see he is closing just a little bit, but I think it's just not close enough to make a move into seeing corner. Just too fast. We see Schieblen running a little bit wide. We see drivers just get caught out in there. This gives the inside line too early, and Schieblen goes away. He goes to Monaco for a shopping trip at this point. That's how far he went, and gives back position to Warley. And it's like a yo-yo going down and up and down and up again.
Yeah, he went very, very wide there, and wasn't great, but seems to have survived it, as I'm seeing something come through about an incident involving car number 88 and car number 247. Those are the cars just up ahead of the ones we're watching here, Donaldson and Bushek. Hopefully it wasn't too serious, as they don't seem to have lost out too much, but incidents happening here only 15 minutes into the race, and we see Elgard at the front. 1.3 seconds is the gap now, so he is being closed down on here, so he isn't pulling away like we might have expected, or like he was doing in the first 2 laps. Ulrich seems to be finding his rhythm here, as we see Jay sandwiched between the Maserati of Schaefer and the Porsche of Dere, and we'll see what he can do coming into turn 1 here. Not quite close enough as we go on board, but he will be trying to get close here, and that really was a good fight we saw between Schieblen and Vardy. Schieblen getting a brilliant run onto the back straight, but not being able to quite pull it off at that really, really tricky turn 10.
Meanwhile, will they pressuring Gea into a mistake? But there it is, just as I say, there is Gea cutting across the track. We'll be looking at if he gets some sort of warning for that, because it looked like he gained a little bit. But how this game works, he might actually just get away with it. And you can see the gap just increased by, what was it, half a second, maybe even more.
Yes, certainly. I should think that's a warning. He did cut a large portion of the track, but you can never be sure. But we now see, actually looking at the timing screens, that Ulrich and Plate are not, well, Elgard's not putting away. They are still closing up. His Plate's wide again, so Plate, the McLaren seems to be really struggling here, going wide through these fast right-hand corners, and that's allowed Crew to back through into P3. So mistakes happening all over the place from these drivers. Really tricky conditions out here, and it doesn't look like it'll be drying up anytime soon. So Plate loses P3 to Kruder, but hasn't lost too much time, and will be looking to get that P3 back as soon as possible.
But this is looking really bad for Plate, because it's not the first time we saw him just running wide at those exact same corners. And he's managed to pass Kruger numerous times, and he just keeps losing it time and time again in those corners. So I think Plate should just be looking at getting into some rhythm through there, because he's just allowing the cars in front to drive away, and if he has the pace to get at them, this is really going to hurt his chances. Although we see just 20 minutes gone from this race, as he is getting back at Kruger, who made exactly another mistake into the turn 1 and 2 chicanes. Just manages to hang it around the outside of turn 3 and 4. He should be able to hold off Plate just for a while longer.
Yeah, but this run is so crucial. The run through turn 6 and 7 is everything, as the back straight is so long. It's really not easy. Turn 6 and 7 are so crucial, as they determine your speed for the whole rest of the straight, and Plate seems to have got a decent run. I don't think he'll quite be close enough, but he has gained time here. Now I think his goal here is not to run wide in the next couple of corners, as he has done so. But Kruder defending slightly, not wanting to be overtaken here, and actually Plate's pulled alongside, so Plate with the speed on the straight, that's really quite impressive. I don't know what setups these guys are running, and I don't think they would have prepared for the wet, but now Plate turns the car right, and again runs very wide. So again, another mistake. He got the move done, but just was a bit too eager through turn 10 and went so wide. I think that was further than Monaco, to be honest, but back on track and back behind Kruger, as yeah, the McLaren seems to be struggling here running wide, as we switch to Donaldson, who's being traced by the Alpine of Buschek.
I'm starting to wonder if Plate just did not put some zero wing or forgot to put on a dry setup, because these are lots of mistakes from him there. And I'm not sure if he's just overcommitted or maybe he actually forgot to put on setup, because I know some of my friends during these races managed to just forget the setup or get the wrong setup. It can happen really easily, mainly when there's a weather change and you are thinking about different things. As Donaldson goes wide in penultimate corner, he loses the position away from Buschek, but he just goes around the outside in the Alpine. Let's see on the start-finish straight if he can pull away. They also have Gegea closely behind them, following, and he'll be looking at capitalize at these two. But it just does not look like he fancies going free wide. No, he does not.
Oh, I was just hoping that don't go free wide. Like, that's never gonna work. That corner is so difficult. It's off camber, it tightens up. But now we see Buschek, the Alpine, pulling alongside, trying to get his nose in there into turn 3. I don't think he's quite gonna do it this time, but he is getting very close, and again has to be careful about the Porsche behind, because any mistake in the Porsche will pounce.
You can see him just clattering the curbs, and Gegea going for alternate line. And there is Donaldson going over the yellow sausages. It slows him down majorly and gives Gegea and Buschek the opportunity to get by, and now Buschek will be looking behind at the Porsche. He's getting just a little bit closer, and I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Gegea to get by Buschek even before we get to the corner. Just look at how close he is. Side by side on the straight, and I think that should be easy one for Gegea, but also Donaldson will be looking to just get into the slipstream as he gets past Buschek and maybe get back at Gegea. Just look at him, loses the positions before the straight and just tactically gets by both of them. As Gegea is not going to sell his skin easily and goes back down the inside of Donaldson, and this just pushes him off of the line. goes wide and Butcher just looks at Giga. I was in front, I want to be back. But these corners just do not help him that much. Giga has the inside line. And in these next corners it is hard to run side by side with someone else. Butcher will have to settle for P10 after he was looking at P9. But let's see if he can climb over Giga again.
Yeah, great battling here. That was really great coming through the third sector. Have the position. No, I'll have. You lose the position at the start of the tour straight, you get it back at the end. But now we see Chafer in the Maserati. No traction control, no ABS. What can he do into turn one? I don't think he's going to be close enough. But Eldar just set a blistering lap time of a 13.4 and pulled out 2 seconds on the second place man, Ulrich. So now starting to pull the gap. Maybe a mistake or two from Ulrich, because not great to see from him. Now the gap's 4 seconds, and there's a massive gap from P5 to P6, something like 10 seconds there. So that is interesting to see. But now we switch to the Chevrolet of Will Day coming into turn one. Someone's off up ahead. I'd expect that's the Audi of Barton has completely cut turn 2 there. So I don't know what's happened there. As we see, Al is in the pits. I think he just had an accident with the car number 420. So that's clinched. So I don't know what's happened between them. I don't know if he's pitting for damage. I expect it will be, unless he's got pressures or something drastically wrong. But now we see Donaldson once again under pressure. Now for the Maserati. Buschek, have him slightly up the road. So half a second up to Buschek. But now Chafer with this no electronics Maserati, will see what he can do. It's such a difficult car to drive. It's one that only the very best, only the most brave will ever pick in this game. But and he's sliding. Oh wow, he slid it through turn 10. Oh my god, that was quite something to see. And the fact that he still kept it going in a straight line is quite amazing. We'll see the replay, the on board, and he's just sliding all the way through the corner. Amazing car control there from Chafer.
But we see the battle resume. Donaldson, Butcher and Giga. We had quite a big battles before. As we see, there was a collision in this corner. What is it looking to be? We had quite the coming together between drivers in this fast section. Let's see if the replay gives us a little bit more. Yeah, there was just a coming together between the Aston Martin and the Audi. And Porsche of Fred Bear just spun a little bit by himself while trying to avoid the collision of the drivers. And yeah, we can see Joshua Barton coming into the pit lane, and also Will Day, and also some other drivers pitting for damage or maybe new tires already after 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's only been 30 minutes, but there has been incidents involving all 3 of them in the past 5 minutes or so. So Day seems to have damage. I don't know. I don't think it to look like that. Tell from a distance, but yeah, that car definitely is damaged. I don't know what's happening with him. He's trying to find his pit box. I think it's struggling here, but we'll get it stopped. We'll get the car jacked up and we'll try and get it repaired, hopefully, to try and head out again. But the top 4 has been the same for a few laps now. Plate hasn't been able to get through. It's still Eldard from Ulrich through the plate, and then Eugenie just 3 seconds behind, but then a massive 15-second gap to Shablom, only 30 minutes into the race. So a big gap opening up there with Shablom not quite having the pace to get up to those top 4, but having or top 5 rather, but still having the pace to stay ahead of Phil Varley. Oh, and that's Donaldson. It's Donaldson's wide again. Great battle between all these cars. So Donaldson fighting with the Maserati of Chafer. Chafer won't quite get him. That is quite the exotic livery, I must say, on that Maserati as we go on board. We'll see what he can do. Coming through the long right hand of turn 13 now, completely flat, I would expect, but you never know in the wet in the Maserati. But he's got his wipers on, trying to clear the water away, but don't think he's quite going to be close enough, but he's going to have another opportunity very soon. I'm sure of that. As he, a bit of a compromised line there from Donaldson, just maybe not quite having the run he would want, and now he's going to try and get the run. Is Schaefer. We'll see if he has the drive. He doesn't quite. The BMW seems to have a bit of a straight line speed advantage at the moment in the race, and now we see Schaefer just trying to get close up to Donaldson, but not quite there, and they will stay as they are for the moment.
Donaldson goes a little bit wide for the first chicane. That is enough to unsettle the car, but still Schaefer with the Maserati, with what the car is, he's not able to capitalize on those mistakes as easily. Maybe if he was in a different car with some of the assistants, he might have been able to capitalize on the mistakes, but with how the Maserati is, just look at it, he's pushing him around the corners basically.
Oh, he's getting so close, wow, and I must join the sentiment of in the chat say that they're glad they for this one. Actually, I was going to race this one until earlier today, but then I decided not to, and I think I'm quite glad when you consider the conditions here. I'm not too good in the wet, and I think I'll be suffering out here.
You can see Bill Jones currently having a lapped car in front of him, what looks to be Lenz, yeah, Gianni Lenz in the Chevrolet, who's been in the pit lane. If you go back to the battle pack of Schaefer, Donaldson and Buchek, a little bit of slide from Schaefer. We see Donaldson and Buchek just not being able to make any gains on the car in front. It's being stacked together.
Yeah, we're on board with the Maserati once again. You see how difficult it is to drive, but he's just trying to close up Donaldson slightly deep in there, so Schaefer's going to get right up to the back of him, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do anything. It's the same situation again. He's so close out of the last corner, but I don't know if he can get the power down to get alongside it. It's a very tricky turn one. As we look over the rear wing here, looking at the driver, and now Donaldson looking back at the Maserati. Not quite going to be done here, that purple green Maserati, but the Maserati will try and get as close as possible, try and get some sort of drive here into turn 3, as both drivers are really struggling to find the grip. It's not easy here, as we see another battle right behind them, I think, of Jones and Brea. But I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But now we see Donaldson, Schaefer right on the back of him, but not quite being able to make any move there. Oh, that was quite the wiggle there from the rear end of Schaefer's Maserati, but not quite being able to get close enough to make the move.
You can see Schaefer just pushing Donaldson out of these corners, but Donaldson just manages to get the legs stretched on the BMW and pull away. Meanwhile, behind that's just Bill Jones lapping the Chevrolet that is behind ahead of him.
Yeah, and I must agree with Marcus in the chat saying that Schaefer is very brave to go with the Maserati, even if he didn't know. Still a very, very brave choice to go with, as it's a difficult car to control, but he's doing a good job of it now in P11, as the gap of the lead has just closed to 2.1 seconds. So, oh, it's actually 1.8, sorry, so it's really closing up here. So maybe a couple mistakes from Eldard. Not sure quite what's happening. Maybe if they are deciding to pit, it will be in the next half an hour or so if they want to split it in half, but we don't know if it might dry up towards the end of the race. So Eldard here in the lead. It looks pretty comfortable for now. His car looks quite dirty, but no damage, I shouldn't think. And he's going to try and put some laps in to make a bit of a bigger gap to Ulrich, because the gap might be getting a bit too close for comfort now.
Well, might have been just small puddles that were unexpected or were not there last time. Very easy to catch you out when you are not prepared for them. Usually you can't even see them, so might be a little time loss as Schaefer looks to have gotten a slightly better exit out of the final corner than Donaldson, but just unable to put the car alongside of Donaldson, going a little bit defensively leaving a little bit on the track. He is starting to feel the pressure from Schaefer. You can see just slight errors from him. This will be a really hard fight for Donaldson to keep Schaefer behind, but it will keep us entertained at best.
Yeah, I mean, Donaldson has the pace where it counts, you know. He's got the drive out of the... Schaefer just can't challenge him into the next corners after the straight, as we see Varley in the pits in the BMW. Not quite sure why that is. I don't think there's been any incident involving him recently. So it could be tyres, could be fuel. Maybe looking to go from the end from here, but we'll see what happens. Maybe trying to fix his pressures possibly. I'm sure at the start of the race not many of them would have any idea what they're doing with pressures. I have to agree with Cos in the chat. Some of these cars, some of the GT4 cars are difficult, but personally I do like the Aston very much. It's nice and stable, but Sims recommended McLaren, Porsche, Chevy. They're all very good cars. Some are just a cut below the others, such as the Audi and the Alpine, but they're a lot of fun to drive. I think you get great battling, partly because they're a bit slower than the GT3 cars.
As we see, Ignacy Buczek somehow managed to find himself behind Jack Donaldson. Although Donaldson going wide, and so does Schaefer just following the car in front, and Buczek lost P8 to Donaldson, managed to regain it back. These three are just locked in eternal fight again. Going into final few corners, Buczek just a little bit onto the curb. And still Gigea in front has not managed to just drive away from them, and they might be able to catch the Porsche back. We might be looking at the four-way fight for a P7.
Yes, certainly. And I just want to note that Verstappen's the teammate of Elgard is 15. After having a big issue on lap, just set a purple lap at a 13.1, which is excellent. Everyone else is doing at least 14. Zulrich just did a 16.8 and lost a lot of time to Eldard on that last lap. But we just saw Varley going wide there. So after pitting, he doesn't seem to have the confidence in the car. Maybe just trying to get those tyres back up to temperature. Of course, no tyre warmers here in the GT4 series. But Verstappen, I think that's a lap car. I'm not quite sure. It does get hard to tell at this stage of the race, but he is in a bit of a BMW sandwich, but it's a big sandwich because it's 20 seconds to the 534 in front of him. As we go back to Buschet, now got 1 second back to Donaldson, but Donaldson again right on the back of him is the Maserati, but he just can't get the run.
Looks like again the part where Donaldson is fast enough in the areas that matter, that allow him to just keep ahead of Schaefer. Just wondering how far would Schaefer actually be able to go if he was in a car that would allow that little bit of freedom to push. But hey, it keeps us entertained for now, so I think it's good the reason that he chose it. Talking with him before the race, like calling himself a madman for choosing that, as we see Donaldson going a little bit wide, just opening the door slightly for Schaefer, as he finally makes the crucial mistake at the back of the circuit, allowing Schaefer to get past him. And Martin can just look in front of him and see how did they spin him. But apart from that, the yellow Alpine that has been in sights of Donaldson for past 10-15 minutes. Now he can go and chase Buczek, and let's see if he can make inroads where Donaldson could not.
Yeah, and Varley, who just pitted a couple laps ago, as we see that. Varley, who made a mistake coming out of the pits, he's dropped a couple of. So not ideal from him, but hopefully he didn't serious issue. Hopefully it's just tires or something like that. But again, Schaefer has made the move on Donaldson, and it is it wasn't the best move, but he did slide it down the inside. It was a crucial mistake, and you have to avoid mistakes here if you want to win. It's a long race, 50 minutes to go, and if we're going to see people pitting, it might be soon. So watch out for that. But now we see Eldard or rather Breyer, sorry, in the Porsche, closing up on the BMW, seeing what he can do. 15 seconds back to Verstappen, who is setting the timing boards alight. Very fast Chevrolet, so we'll see what he can do. But Breyer, again, trying to close here, just 1 second behind as we see Maddow in the Porsche, chased by Lenz now. So if I'm interpreting that correctly, yeah, we see the replay. Lenz has gone off there, run wide, and Al is ahead of him now.
They just mistake that allowed Al to get by Lenz. And Al just will be looking at Phil Varley, 17 seconds. As we see some guys like James Foley going into the pit lane. Meanwhile, at the front, Martin Schaefer is closing to Ignacy Buczek, who managed to get close to Georges Gigea. And we see the fight resume between these four. We saw Gigea getting past all of them at the start or at the early parts of the race, and now looks to be running out of power, or not power, maybe just steam. Just a little bit of mistakes here and there. Now Buczek is looking to get past by him and regain what was his at the start of the race.
Yeah, Buczek in the Alpine looking to try and close up into turn one. He might just be close enough. He seems to have a bit of an advantage. He's not going to be quite, I don't think, but yeah, we'll stay ahead through turn one. Has to take a bit of a defensive line, just being a bit cautious, trying to keep the car under control. It really isn't easy here, as he always loses the rear and slightly. Oh, so does Buczek, and Buczek's
Yeah, mistake for Buczek.
That's a big mistake for Buczek. He copied Gagarin losing the rear end, having the twitch, but he just couldn't hold it together and has spun all the way off the track. Luckily, there's a lot of runoff for him to use, but we see that just avoiding the fence there as the marshal waves the yellow flag. Very lucky to avoid the hitting the wall in that Alpine, but he would get back on the way. His tires will be nice and hot, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him pit, to be honest. As now I think he's going to come under pressure from one of the Chevrolets. I'm not sure exactly who that is. It might be...
No, it will be a left car.
Yeah, it could be, certainly is. There's another yellow flag behind that turn 7. I'm not quite sure who that is, but so that's an incident there. So hopefully whoever it is hasn't been affected too severely. I have a feeling that was number 12, actually, so of Burley in the... just getting back on the way on the straight. Yeah, there we go. That's what's happened to him, and he's hit the wall quite hard there. So
that's quite the hit from Burley.
As he tries to get the car spun around and does get it in the straight line, but that will have warmed it as nicely, and hopefully he can cool them down on the straight before he gets to somewhere where he needs them again.
And you can see the damage that was on the BMW on the front. And he might be going wide again. Oh boy, he's almost going to Spain and back on the trip.
Yeah, maybe Portugal now.
Maybe time to slow it down. It's another hit and Burley. I don't know if that was part of the plan, but there is not much grip on that surface of the track. Probably this will have to be definitely a pit stop for him, because he's just going off again, trying.
Yeah, you see the massive damage there. You see the massive damage. I wouldn't be surprised if he has suspension damage, to be honest. He's using one of the alternative track layouts. He is something like 7 laps down, so good on him for staying in the race, but he's out of any sort of contention for the top 20 or so. But now he switched back to Kruger and it's only 1.2 seconds behind, but the gap here is close between Schaefer and Giguere. Schaefer trying to get past Giguere, as the last car who tried to get past Giguere didn't turn out too well for them, but in the Alpine that was Buschet. But now Schaefer maybe can have better luck. But you remember with Donaldson, Schaefer couldn't get past very easily and had to wait for a decent mistake, not a small mistake, a proper mistake from Donaldson. So we'll see if he has better luck with Giguere getting past, or if he'll have to stick behind for the moment.
Well, but it's a different car. Porsche might have different strengths and weaknesses. We'll be looking at how can Martin exploit those weaknesses of the Porsche and the strengths of the Maserati, which are currently unknown. but they have to be there. Meanwhile, also barely managed to get himself a drive-through penalty while exploring the track limits, so probably stewards were not amused by his creative interpretation. As we see Schaefer just gaining in the fast corner scene, having a slightly better line, but he goes for a little bit of slide. Big wiggle from him there, but managed to save the car. Almost having same fate as Ignacy Bucek. But you can see how much he's pushing that car to gain lap time. You can see I think he might have a quite easier time of Gerges Gegea than he had of Greg Donaldson.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not jealous of him being in that Maserati. I do not want to be in that Maserati one bit. See, another little slide. He's having to correct every corner, trying to get the power down. It really isn't easy, but now he's very, very close, coming down through time, and he's got halfway alongside. He's got those very brightly coloured wheels. A bit exotic, I must say, but we see him now trying to get around the outside. We'll see if he can do it. This is not going to be easy, and Gaget's a lot later on the brakes, but is he too late? And no is the answer. He's parked it metaphorically on the apex. And I don't know if Chafe will be able to get the run. He has got a run, but will it be a big enough run? I'm not sure. As they defend slightly, and Chafe does not look to be close enough for the moment.
Yeah, talking about deliveries, many people going for rather special types of color combinations, let's say that way, may not be pleasing to the eye, but it might have its effect as, oh, there's a contact between Schaefer and Gigea. Schaefer tried to put his nose where it did not belong. Just trying to find the seat, try to push that gap a tiny bit, but that gap was never there. There was no space for them, and we see him still in front of Gigea, and he might be looking to give that position back.
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing now. Yeah, that wasn't stuck his nose in a bit too much. Like, you just can't do that. You have to wait a bit, but it's all about patience, and I can understand why he's getting impatient, having to taking so long to get past Donaldson and now struggling to get past the air. But now they've both lost the positions to Donaldson, and probably a bit of damage on both of those cars. It wasn't the lightest of contact. It was significant, to say the least, but hopefully won't affect them too much. And halfway point in the race, Burley has his drive-through removed, but I have a feeling he is out of the race anyway. It seems now something like 9 laps down, but yeah, I agree, Marcus. Good sportsmanship in the end, but we do like to see people waiting for each other here. That's the McLaren, and just a bit wide there. I don't think that's anything serious, but we're struggling maybe for grip here.
As we see Emil Plate still fighting off with Samuel Kruger, but Javier Eugeni is closing by. He's still lingering behind him. You see the fight for 4th position between these two. As we jump over to the second half of this race, we had 90 minutes set for us, and we are into the final 45. With Emil Plate being just far enough from Javier Eugeni to give his P4. But looks like with those small mistakes, Eugeni is going to get closer, maybe get by. As these three are at it again, we can see there Donaldson going wide. This allows Gigea to get close. There was really close between them.
The dad got so close. Hopefully he won't stick his nose in where it isn't. Well, Schaefer did, but now he's going to try and get the... I think he's definitely got a run. I think Donaldson struggled out of that turn 7, but we'll see who has the power down the straight, as it's now a drag race between them. Gigea does have the benefit of the slipstream of the BMW though. Slight defense put up by Donaldson, not quite letting Gigea have all the track that he wants, but we'll see if he can get alongside into this fast right-hander. I don't think he will be able to. He's just a bit too far behind, and he will have to hope for a mistake maybe from Donaldson's. We've seen plenty of mistakes coming through these few right-handers here, and I think Donaldson was a bit wide, but it won't be too wide, and he will hold on to the position for now.
Meanwhile, Adam's here, and we did not see much from him in this race. He is chasing Felix Fritsch in the number 1 Chevrolet on the back straight again. In the slipstream, trying to get closer, and I think he is closing it down. If you just look at the overspeed he has going to the right hand side and just easily breezing by Fritsch. Although Verstappen has front row look at these two. Now he's probably faster than both of them, and he's trying to find his position going around the outside of Fritsch, maybe. Would be the closest. Oh, there's a contact between both of them. Verstappen probably not expecting Fritsch to slow down at that point of the track, or slow down as early. But
Yeah, Fridge brayed early because he was worried about the BMW. He didn't want to run into the back of him, but yeah, a bit of a mistake there from Verstappen. Hopefully he won't get penalised for it, but yeah, a mistake, and we see him fighting again. He's one of the fastest cars on the track at the moment. As now we see, I think that's Fritsch pulling to the pits. Yeah, so Fritsch maybe with damage, maybe was planned to pit anyway. We are just past the halfway point. We just saw, I believe we saw Udini pit, and he is dropped down to P10. So I don't know whether they're taking tyres. I expect they will be. They'll probably be taking a bit of fuel as well with 45 minutes left, or 40 minutes rather, left in the race. But Verstappen, one of the fastest cars on track, but still has to pit.
yeah, we saw Evgeny there. Might have been his part of strategy to just run on lighter fuel, have less load on the tires, and go for a pit stop in the middle of the race. We will be interested in seeing how the rest of the grid follows, mainly the top 5, in what is their reaction.
Yeah, we'll see if maybe he has a lot of pace on fresh tires. We see Plate come in. So Plate has come in from P4. He was trying to chase that Ruger, but don't think too successful. Couple seconds behind, so he's pitted, and now we see Verstappen on the back of the BMW. Hopefully he can get his move done nice and cleanly, unlike the last time he tried a move. But he is one of the fastest cars on the grid, and one of the has set, I think, the fastest after the race. Yeah, he has a 2:13.1, but if he can put in the times, and isn't so important if he can't get the moves done cleanly. But he looks to be getting a very nice cut back there, as the BMW just went too deep, couldn't carry the speed through, and carried too much speed into the corner. So now that is one more position for Verstappen done, as we see Plate and Shablon both. 40 minutes left in the race. I'm sure that final pit stop, it will the next any change in this weather for now. So it looks like they will be on wet tires till the end of the race, as Udini comes out just as I believe that's Plate, and Plate stopped. Plate has
That's a big problem for Emma Plate. What happened there?
Plate just stopped coming out of the pits. I have no idea why that is.
Well, he is getting back to the speed.
The first thing I thought was, did he accidentally put on slick tires and just stopped because he made the mistake? Because I've seen people make some mistake, but I hope not. I continue. So some valuable seconds there with that moment of being stationary there on pit exit. Hopefully he can get back up to speed and carry on with the race.
That would have been a big mistake if you put on slicks, but still, maybe some problem from the sim or from where he is. Just a little bit of distraction, having to do something and pull the car over as you are leaving the pit lane. Well, we might find out later after the race, we shall see. But currently the grid is pretty mixed up. Still, Mark Elgaard in the lead from the start, 5 seconds in front of Martin Ulrich. And Samuel Kruger, again, another 5.5 seconds behind. Looks like the top 3 has settled into these big gaps. And I'll be interested if one of them will be trying to just gain or push a little bit more in the next stint after they are familiar with the track and how wet it is and how it feels.
Yeah, and I would have said it's interesting to see where Plate comes out relative to them, but that mistake or issue there for Plate would, well, any sort of undercut he would have had time will really not have much chance now. But we look at the other McLaren here in P11, that's Shablon. He's been having a good race. He dealt with the midfield pretty well, was sitting comfortably in P6, but a long way behind. So it's interesting to see how he is doing here in P11, and maybe he has already pitted, I believe. So we'll see what he can do. Oh, he hasn't pitted actually. So he hasn't pitted and he's down to P11. So maybe some sort of mistake there from Shablon. He lost 5 seconds on the last lap, so not quite sure what's happening to him, but some sort of issue. Yeah, his last lap was 3 minutes long, so he's lost something like a minute on that last lap. Did he pit?
No, that would be a bigger loss. Like, if you look at the past few laps, might have an answer. Meanwhile, we jump back to Martin Schaefer and Gerges Gegea. Still in the fight. Schaefer is chasing him down on the back straight. Pulling out a little bit, trying to show that nose to Gegea, trying to make him brake a bit later. So you can see the Maserati just all over the little Porsche. You can see just chasing him around the circuit. Gegea not having easy time trying to keep Schaefer behind.
Yeah, he has managed to do so for now, but it really is not easy. But Schaefer really closes it up, but doesn't seem to be able to get the drive. Maybe the lack of traction control, I think, definitely not helping him. MP5 now just right behind the day. I think we might just see him close up on the mid corner again here. Yeah, getting close coming into this final corner, but I don't think he's quite close enough here to challengers. Well, the gate took quite some speed into that final corner, ran a bit wide, compromised his run slightly, and here comes Schaefer now in the Maserati. Got some run on him, but last time he did this, he just had to back up. And he's less alongside than he was last time. But we'll see who breaks later. It is going to be Didier breaking later. Maybe some sort of attempt to cut back as Didier has gone deep. So we'll see what Schaefer can do. Schaefer went slightly deep himself, but not as deep. And now tries to get the power down. Does get the power down coming down for the turn 3. But I think just had a slight movement on the rear end. Won't be able to make it through. He's really being safe here. Of course, no ABS meaning it's very easy to lock up, especially in the wet conditions. And now, yes, still struggling to get past a small mistake, and that's a bigger mistake. So that is a bigger mistake from Didier coming through turn 5. Now through turn 6, they're side by side. I don't know if Didier will be able to hand it now through the inside for turn 7. He is able to be there. They are still alongside. But I think Schaefer has just cleared, and now it's the drag down to turn 10.
Looking at the Gegea in the slipstream, he might be having the advantage, but he's not pulling that much on Schaefer, who goes defensive halfway through the straight, not giving Gegea that inside line, which might be the beneficial line through the seam corner. You can see Gegea pulling alongside Schaefer. Let's see if he can hang it around the outside. It's not going to be easy as he turns in, and you see that little bit of hesitation on a turn in. He saw Schaefer there. A tiny bit scared, as we see Bucek going a little bit wide, but within the limits. And Schaefer getting himself up to P4. Will be interesting if any of these drivers is planning to stop yet, because Elgard, Ulrich and Kruger look like with 30 minutes to go, they might be able to go to the aim on these tires and fuel, and it will be interesting because closest guy behind them who has stopped is Javier Evgeny, and he is some of the 13 seconds behind. Well, let's see how it pans out, the pit stop versus no stop. Jump to Emo plate, fighting with Bill Jones, managing to get by the Aston Martin after his stoppage at the exit of the pit lane. It was really weird. Let's see. He was fighting with Javier Vieni for the podium position and also with Samuel Kruger. Now it looks like he might be looking at just trying to get into the top 5 at best.
Yeah, it's not easy here, but we'll see what he can do. Currently P10, but yet to pit, of course. But a pit stop isn't guaranteed here. But I think it's pretty likely, to be honest. What are your thoughts on that?
Look at that nice strategical path that gives us the unknown of who is doing what. Someone might be looking at maybe pit. I would say now is the latest time you should be going into the pits, like after an hour to get those 30 minutes of fresh tires and everything, because I think later than now you just lose too much time and not be able to gain anything from it. See Christoph Verstappen after his problems at the start of the race, jumping around a little bit. This is not a hard style contact, mate. Let's keep the car on the track. You can see close behind Aston Martin pulling away. Like Christoph Verstappen, he as well might be looking for the top 5 finish if he can hold himself together. Meanwhile, while we are watching this, Martin Schaefer has managed to lose the position to Gerges Gigea. So it was on the back straight by the power of the Porsche.
Yes, we see the Alpine of Buschet, I think, that is going wide.
Yeah, it's just deja vu, but this time it's the Porsche ahead of the Maserati.
Yeah, so the Porsche is now ahead, and Maserati's gonna have to stick behind it. Seems like for at least another. Ain't overtaking is that great. And now, is anybody gonna pit, or is the top 3 staying out?
I would say it's staying out. As I said, you will just lose too much in a pit lane, and with 30 minutes, you will be under pressure to start gaining it.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the fuel can do it. It's a question of the tires, but if you can keep them in the right temperature range, if you got your pressure start of the race, then I guess they should be able to go all the way. I'm well informed on the matter, but we see Buschet is close right up to these two, fighting for P4, so interested to see if he can get involved, plans on any sort of mistake that we see from Gigea or Schaefer coming through this turn 6, turn 7, and where it's so crucial we see to get the run. As Schaefer actually struggled a bit there. Schaefer missed the apex of turn 7 slightly, just slid the car, and that might open the window for Buschet. We know Buschet doesn't have all the straight line speed in the world, but none of these cars are the fastest in the straight, and so we'll see what Buschet can do. I don't think he's quite close enough for now, but he is getting involved in turning this into a three-way fight.
Oh, what looked like was a P7, P6 for Buschek. He's now looking at the P4, but with Evgeny behind them, he might be looking at trying to not fight the cars too much. But as we say, he goes wide and just tries to slide down the side of Schaefer. He still keeps his nose in there and manages to get down the inside of the Maserati and gets in front of him. So move quick down, but I think they should be now looking to just drive fast, because Evgeny is 10.5 seconds behind of what was 13 seconds, like, what, 3 minutes ago. So at this rate, I think Evgeny will be looking at them in next 10 minutes probably.
Yeah, he's certainly closing up at quite some speed. He seems to have the pace at this stage in the race. As you say, closing over some as these cars really are. Sorry, there's some issue here, but yeah, we see that Schaefer is trying to get onto the back of Buschet, so we'll see if he can do so, but it's not easy in these cars. It's very difficult. The conditions are so difficult at the moment, and we'll see if he can do anything to get past the Alpine. So now it doesn't look like he'll quite have the run as we go on board. Coming into turn 3s, 4 and 5, all very close together. Very important to get the best one you can here. turn 5 isn't the most important, but it is still important. And then you have to try and get the run through turn 6 and 7 in the wet. So difficult, especially in these GT4s, especially in the Maserati with no traction control whatsoever. And you see him sliding the car. You see Bushek out wide. So all the drivers struggling here as we cut back to Shablon, someone who's been doing well so far, but has some sort of mistake somewhere, I think, and now is trying to get back up the order.
As he goes down the inside of Bill Jones, pushing the Aston Martin driver into a mistake, who just jumps over the curbs. Veblen going wide. Now we are back to the drag race on the back straight. Aston Martin just hugging the right hand side of the circuit, not giving Veblen that line, but he goes back to the left side and gives up the inside line. But probably knowingly that there is no way fighting this Veblen gets past him even before the braking zone starts. For next corner. And Veblen will be looking at Verstappen, who is 6 seconds ahead, trying to chase down the Chevrolet driver who started this race from P3. But after something that happened, maybe a mechanical issue with the steering wheel, with the part of his rig that pushed him down the order into the pit lane even before the race started. But he managed to get himself into P10 or P9, which is quite a solid drive from him. Meanwhile, someone we did not see at all on the screens, Matthew Topham, in the pit lane with 25 minutes to go. This does not seem like the scheduled pit stop to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to pit, you would, as you said, you would definitely have pitted by now. So, not quite sure what's going on with him. As we see some purple laps coming through for the number 11 plate, who has pitted in the McLaren. So, let's see what he can do. Why only 19 funded? Because there's only 19 drivers who are racing right now. That's the honest answer. About 25 started, I think, but 5 or so have retired at this point. Eugenie now in P7, running wide out of turn 7. 2 seconds behind Chafer, trying to close that gap, and he has closed it a lot, of course, but Chafer's dropped back a lot from Bushek at the same time. So Plate seems to be the fastest car on track right now, setting 2:13.0, which is very fast, but we'll see what he can do from P8 if he can close the gap up to Eugenie and up to Chafer.
Well, that must have been a big mistake from Chafer, who's lost like 9 seconds, probably even 10. He was behind Gegea, finds himself behind Buchek. Now it will be a tough defense for him, but with 25 minutes to go, it might not even be viable to just try to keep Evgeny behind. You know, Javier was in a pit lane, he has fresh tires, so this might be just a fight not worth fighting. With also Plate just 8 seconds behind in Verstappen, who has not stopped, but he's fast as well. Let's see what lies ahead of us, Chafer. Not just letting the door open for Evgeny, but not defending it entirely. Let's see the comparison out of the final corner. You see them pretty equal on the exit. But Evgeny, he will want to get past the Maserati as soon as possible to not lose time. There is still a chance that he can get that P4, maybe on the podium if his pace is really good. But that might be as far as he can probably take that car.
Yeah, certainly it's going to be difficult here. Only 23 minutes to go. That's less than 10 laps, I think. So not too long to get the job done if you want to make up some positions in the final part of the race. But now we cut back to Donaldson chasing down the fellow BMW, the number 534, and trying to get P13.
Yeah, Adam Sion, we saw him in some fights already, usually just trying to keep his positions from the car behind. You see him just running wide into the turn one, a classic mistake we saw many times already in this race. Jack Donaldson, we saw him having a couple of mistakes himself as well after his pit stop, trying to get down the inside into this turn four, but just from that far behind in these conditions, there is no way you're just shoving the car down the inside. As we saw, Evgeny getting past Martin Schaefer onto the back straight and just pulling away from him, getting that P6. Now it's time for him to just chase down Ignacy Buček 8 seconds in what is about 20 minutes. That will be a tough task, but surely it will be accomplishable for him.
Yeah, and you see Buschet fighting with De Gea, so he won't be going at speed right now, as we see Eugenie just 8 seconds behind, trying to close that gap. 21 minutes to go as they cross the start-finish line. One more lap ticked off. Eldad's done 30 laps now, as we see Donaldson finally getting past Shun. And we see it was a mistake from the other BMW running slightly wide, and that just allowed Donaldson to get down the inside into turn 11 and get the move nicely done. And there's been an accident involving the 88 and the 961 cars, I can report. Not sure. That's De Gea and Buschet, so they've obviously had some contact, and I can say that De Gea is 1.7 seconds behind there, so he's lost some time. Don't know quite what's happened there, but there was some sort of contact between them at some point, so... Yeah, somehow that's allowed Buschet to get ahead, I think.
Looks like probably a mistake from Georgios Gegea that resulted in Buček just trying to get around him, but probably Gegea was in the way of Buček. The replay did not manage to catch it, sadly. But all of this is just allowing Javier Evgeny to get closer and closer, and you can see it's just 3 seconds. What was in 3 minutes ago, what was 8 seconds? The cars ahead just managed to lose like 6 seconds in what, 1 lap? 1.5 lap? So those are important seconds that you just cannot lose to the cars behind, as we see Sion in 534 BMW going into the pit lane, probably had enough of those tires and just wants to have some fresh rubber for the final few minutes of the race to finish calmly. Meanwhile, Evgeny, you can see it catching Gegea by 9/10 in just few corners. This looks like a rocket ship that he has at the back of that Chevrolet. See, just another mistake from Gegea, going tiny bit wide. And you have to say this will be a short fight between both of them.
Yeah, I certainly expect so. Eugenie seems to have so much pace at the moment, setting really good lap times. He's just set something like a 2:14 flat. Of course, best lap time was just 17 minutes. That's Streppen, I believe he set a 12.8, 2/10 quicker than any other driver, but he's still down in P9, having had to stop at the start. But I think he should catch plates by the end of the races. We see Eugenie now within 1 second of the gear. So we see, can Eugenie get the run here onto the back straight? He's looking to try and get P5 from De Gea. We'll see if he can do it. So Eugenie now closing up on De Gea. I don't think he's going to be close enough, but the car does have a lot of pace, so we'll see what he can do. 7 tenths was a gap at the last checkpoint. I think it's a bit closer now, but I definitely is quite going to be close enough into turn 10 this time. Oh, he might be. Oh, I might have spoken to him soon. He's got a massive run just at the top end of the speed. At the top end speed, the Chevrolet just seems to have so much more as we jump on board with the gear. He has maintained the position, but That was a lot of overspeed in the end of the straight for Eugenie.
Well, again, probably ambition over adhesion. I probably did not feel, even though they are knew they were probably not going to hold him around the outside on team corner. But he has time, he has the pace, so it's just about making the move in the correct position, not trying something dangerous that will end up with collision with the car in front of you and possibly even a penalty that would ruin his run. Straight, but you can see him just not having enough grip to just stay on the track. Evgeny now pulling to the right hand side into the first corner. You can see just slowly getting by him. Around the outside, will Giga try to fight it even a bit more? He does, although he goes wide. This will allow Evgeny with the switchback. He is down on the inside, but we saw people just backing off into this corner, even though they were on the inside. It's a really fast entry, which does not allow for the cars to go side by side in these conditions. And you have to say for Gigea, it might not be the best idea to defend this position, because there are cars behind him lingering, mainly Schaefer, and also West Plate and Verstappen behind him. Those are cars he should be worrying about more than Evgeny, because Evgeny it's just a matter of not if, it's more when does he get by.
Yeah, certainly, but it is understandable why he's fighting. Of course, 15 minutes left. It's just a straight out battle to the end, so it's understandable why he's fighting, but at the same time I understand your point about other cars catching. But we do see Schaefer now coming under a lot of pressure from Plate. Plate seems to have the top end speed to get past the Maserati. He's pulled to the inside. Can he get the move done going into the fast right hand of turn 10? And yes, he does. He's pulled, well, he's done it before anywhere near the braking zone. A great move from him, and as long as he doesn't run too wide, he should be okay. He does run slightly wide, but he is okay to go through turn 11 by himself. And now Eugenie has got ahead of Gakea, so he missed that, but we're watching another great overtake from Plate. But Eugenie has overtaken Gakea just in those last couple of corners, maybe at the end of the straight, I'm not quite sure, but good job from him. And now Schaefer is right on the back of Plate. So having just been overtaken, he seems to have a bit of speed in the corners, but just not on the straight where it really matters on this track.
It looks like that is the one strength of the Maserati, the mechanical grip. We saw Schaefer just get close to everyone mid-corner. The car managed to just get some grip and get closer to the cars in front. So he might be utilizing that really well in the final sector, but yeah, as you can see on the straights, the car just does not pull as well as the others.
Now we look at Maddow in the number 14, sorry, the 4th place car. No, sorry, the 14th place car, the number 4 car. He is definitely, well, he's not a lap down, he's almost a lap down actually, so.
Yeah, he has just been lapped by our leader.
Oh yeah, he has, so he is now the first car who's on, not on the lead lap, yeah. That makes sense, but we see Elgar pull into the side there, maybe trying to cool the tyres, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I have a feeling that's what he's doing. Maybe his tyres are getting a bit too hot for his liking. Only 13 minutes left, of course. It has been wet throughout this race. He hasn't pitted, Ulrich hasn't pitted, Kruger hasn't pitted, so all these guys trying to keep their tyres alive, as this is the crucial part of the race where you really don't want your tyres to die off.
You just see the gaps to the cars as they are. You can see that Elgard has a big gap of 13 seconds and Kruger just 10 seconds behind Ulrich. The top 3 are really spread out, really wide. As we jump back to Martin Schaefer, who has been overtaken by Christoph Verstappen. So it was already done on the back straight, but Verstappen running a bit wide through Seen and into the turn 11. But he managed to get by Schaefer. Same way as Plate. Let's see if Christopher Streppen can get back to Emma Plate, but he's already on the back of Gegea. He will try to get as much in between himself and Verstappen as he can, and car would be the ideal thing to put between you and your rival.
Yeah, so Plate here now right on the back of the gear. We'll see if he can get anything done. I don't think he's close enough for now, but trying to just get the run. Turns the car to the right through turn 2 and seems to have the run and the speed at the moment. But we've seen cars backing out here, as you said, into turn 3, and he might just do the same. Yeah, indeed, he does do the same. It is somewhere scary to go alongside. I have done it myself, and I have spun out there, so not easy to do, but we know these drivers are very capable to be running here in the top 10. Verstappen now into P8, seeing if he can close it. Everyone's getting nice and close towards the end of the race. It's not a boring end to the race as you might have expected. Everyone's closed up after the pit stops, but out in the lead it is still Eldar as we see Plate now trying to get the run. The McLaren seems to have some very good top end speed, and he seems to have already done it before he's reaching anywhere near that top end speed.
Yeah, on board of Gegea, you can see him just immediately pulling behind Plate, but to no avail. The McLaren is just driving away into the sunset, although slightly bit wide away from the apex, but he has enough margin to keep Gegea at bay. Now setting his sights on Evgeny, who himself is looking at Ignacy Bucek, and Bucek was started in higher positions. He was there about of P5, but fell down during the race. He was fighting for what was P9, P8. Currently looking at that P4. Might be a good result for him with 10 minutes to go. He has a 4.7 gap behind. Let's see how he manages to work with that.
Yeah, 10 minutes to go now. Just a few laps left, something like 4 or 5 laps, I think, as Gegea now close behind Plate. But is that Verstappen right behind him? It is.
Yes, it is.
Right behind. So Verstappen all the way from the back on lap 1, now trying to fight for P7.
And still remember, Verstappen, I don't think he went into the pit lane apart from that first lap.
Yeah,
so he's on the same.
The highest car who's pitted, I think, is you. Plate also pitted, but Verstappen has not pitted as we see him back out. Well, actually, he didn't back out. He tried to go alongside in turn 3, and a bit of contact there between them coming through turn 4, and a lot of contact there.
That is not a nice thing from Gegea. Oh, that was not needed. That might be looked at by stewards because Gegea just. He saw Verstappen was there, even though Gegea was in front. He has right to that corner. But I would say Verstappen had right to that line, because he was alongside, and Gegea was just starting to turn in that little bit early into the corner, what seems to me trying to scare Verstappen, but Verstappen was just locked up already at that point. He was committed to the line. Well, we shall see what will the verdict on that be, but not a nice driving between these two.
Yeah, certainly. And now Verstappen might just be a bit more careful, to be honest, having just seen what's happened. But he's really going for it there into turn 11. Went a bit deep, almost hit the back of Gegea. So,
well, you don't have time to be careful.
Yeah, I know. It's only eight minutes to go. So they got to get a move on if you want to get any moves done. And I think any chance of P6 for Verstappen might be gone, as he was maybe trying to close up, but having lost maybe something like 4 seconds there, had to that contact with Gegea, his chance for that, I think, might be gone.
Well, as he goes on, that's wide, that's really wide. Uncharacteristic mistake from Verstappen, just, yeah, oh, and that was quite a heavy impact for him.
Wow, he just lost it on the brakes, didn't he? So on the brakes. They lost it, and that's heavy damage. He is going to try and stay out, I think, for the last 7 minutes, but that was heavy damage, and he's now down to P9 already, and Shablom is right behind him fighting.
Yeah, that might have been also puddle. It's known that the puddle is there in that area of the track, so maybe a lapse of concentration from the collision with Gegea and just trying a bit too much to get past him as soon as possible, because Plate and Evgeny were running away. So probably just a mistake out of frustration, and he just spilled down the drain for Verstappen. Well, but meanwhile, Plate and Evgeny, Emma Plate has been catching down Javier Evgeny throughout the past few laps, and actually Evgeny has not managed to catch up to Ignacy Bucek. It was somewhere around 4 seconds, if I remember last time we checked on them. It's now 5.1, so we might be looking at a fight for P5 at this point between the Chevrolet and McLaren in the final stages of this race. As we see Emma Plate pushing Javier Evgeny around, Evgeny probably not having as much grip in his tires, or just looking behind him a bit too much.
These two cars are the first two cars who have pitted in this race, so interesting to see where they are at the moment. P5 and P6 Plate really starting to pressure Houdini. We'll see how the tires are doing, but both these cars seem to have twice some top end speed, so they are two of the fastest cars in the straight line, is what I have gathered from what I've seen in the past hour and a half. But we'll see what he can do coming onto the front straight. I don't know if he's going to be quite close enough, but he's going to try and set up a move maybe for the back straight. Only something like 2 or 3 laps to go, so not much time to get it done, but you can still be patient, you can still wait for the back straight, and that looks like that is what Plate will do for now.
As we have Christoph Verstappen going into the pit lane, probably damage was much, but let's look back at the fight. Evgeny having Plate down the inside, we saw people backing off from this move over and over again, and Plate recognizing that there was no space for him there. You can see he is faster than Javier Evgeny. He knows he can get that position back after what was a weird mistake from him. And I've just noticed we have lost Christoph Verstappen from the scoring, so he probably decided to call it a day in the end of this race, which is quite sad. But he probably decided he does not feel like he wants to finish the race after what happened to him. But no, on the back straight, Emma Plate closing to Javier Evgeny. Evgeny going defensive into the corner, not giving Plate the inside line. Let's see how they fare out of the corner. Still Evgeny ahead of him by just a little bit.
Yeah, Eugene just holding on to the position for now, but it's going to be a battle. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I don't think fuel... Of course. So we'll see who will come out on top. It looks like it will be 16 seconds of a gap, only 3.5 minutes to go. But now the fight is on for P5, and Plate is really, really close now. So on board with Plate in the McLaren. Not close enough here for turn 1. He'll try and get the best one he can from turn 1 out of turn 2, and maybe try and get something into turn and be easy. So we'll see what he can do. Plate now not quite close enough here, but we'll try and close up for the next few corners to try and get the run onto the straight. So we'll see what he can do. coming through turn 4 and then into turn 5, a very crucial corner to get the run through turn 6 and turn 7 onto the back straight. Second gear through there in the McLaren, trying to carry the speed here through turn 6, not take too wide, because you want the wide entry into turn 7, carry as much speed as possible. A bit wide for both of them. They're both very wide. Maybe have a warning left or something, using all the track limits available, more than the track limits, but Plate not quite close enough for the moment, I don't think, but we have seen gaps close very late on in the straight. We'll see if the same will happen here. The McLaren does seem to have a lot of top end speed. So now Eugene is defending, maybe trying to cool his tires slightly, but they will have to stay behind for now. I'm pretty sure unless we see a mistake from Eugene, Plate will have to stay behind through this fast turn 10. Both of them struggling, but both of them out wide, using all the curb they can. And now down to third gear, trying to get the car turned in through this long right hander and trying to get the run out of it onto turn 12, which is another one of those corners where you have to take the wide entry, hit the late apex, and then just get the car done. But they're closing up on Buschek. They're closing up on the Alpine of Buschek, who seems to be maybe struggling at the moment. But I think it's going to be just one lap to go, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I might be mistaken. It might be 2 laps to go. It depends on where the leader is. He's coming down the back straight right now, so I think it will be 2 laps to go as they cross the line now. But it is Plate trying to close up on Eugenie, who is trying to close up on Buschek, and it's going to be a great fight for P4 here in the last minute. So Plate now right behind Eugenie. Eugenie trying to close the gap to Buschek. They all seem to be struggling. It's not easy out here. They're on the penultimate lap of the race, as Eldard is going to cross the start-finish line soon, definitely. So yeah, this is the penultimate lap of the race. They're fighting very hard, and we'll see what Plate or Eugenie can do. Eugenie hasn't closed too much to Buschek, so Buschek seems to be keeping it nice and solid for now. But Plate really trying to get close to Eugenie, but Plate maybe doesn't want to pressure Eugenie too much for now, because they both want to get Buschek.
And this is the tactical game. Is the driver in front of you faster than even the car in front of him? Or is it, if he is faster, is he fast enough to get close to the car and create the opportunity for you? And now I'm just thinking, can I get by the car in front? Can I be the faster? Will I lose time? You don't know, this is just a guessing game. You have to choose, and you have to choose wisely, but you can see both of them just getting closer and closer to Ignacy Buschek. Buschek does not have that much grip in his tires. Plate trying to go around the outside of Evgeny. But Evgeny manages to hold him.
Sorry, I made a mistake. This is the last lap.
Okay.
And they're all fighting for P4 now. So Eldard wins from Ulrich from fight is for P4. We see Eugenie and Plate trying to close up. I think Buschek might just be fine. Only a couple corners to go. But Plate is all over the back of Eugenie. It's so very close here. Yeah, Buschek looks to be safe. He can just keep it clean for these last lap of corners. But the question will be whether Plate has any sort of attempt at a dive into the last corner. That's the only opportunity left. Eugenie's slightly wide. Eugenie's in slightly hot. I don't know if Plate can get the run. I don't think he can. I think this is going to be the order for the finish. Yes, it is. It's going to be Eldad, Ulrich, Kruger, Buschek, Eugenie, and Plate, the top 6. And then I think it's going to be Didier from Shablom. And now Shablom's actually coming under pressure from Chaffee. If we can, Chafer rather, if we could switch to that battle, Chafer is pressuring Shablom, I believe. So, Chafer spun. Okay. Chafer spun out of the last corner. He was just behind Shablom in the end. So, not ideal from him. I think he will hold on to the position as Vardy was quite some way behind. And that's not Vardy who's just passed in there. That's the Chevrolet of Will Day. So yeah, Chafer P9, Shablom P8, and P10 looks like it will be Vardy in the BMW.
So we are joined by our race winner, Mark Elgard. How are you doing, mate? How did you enjoy the race?
Give me a second. There we go. I'm doing fine.
So it looked like quite, I wouldn't say easy, depending on the conditions, but quite calm race, quite good
Yeah,
enough.
it was. Yeah, it was quite calm. Me and Christopher Streppen had already planned to do a full run, like without pitting, and we were able to do it. Luckily, because the weather didn't change. So we just had to run our relaxing pace and keep the tires in order.
So we saw you had a pole position and you had a 1-2 with your teammate Christopher Steppen for quite some time. Although he started in P3, but what happened at the start? Do you have any information on your teammate?
Yeah, I do. He was so unlucky that he started on dry tires, and he had to pit right after the start. And yeah, he just tried to keep on from there, but sadly he had a crash in the last part and had to leave us.
Well, that's how racing goes. Thank you for a little bit of information about your race.
Yeah, no worries.
And we'll be happy to see you on track in next events. Goodbye.
We will. Have a good day.
Another driver that we would like to know a little bit more about was Emo Plates. Emo, can you hear us? Well, looks like there is no connection to the other side. Well, and we had also one driver, Ignacy Buczek, who was the only one, or one of the highest position driver without having a pit stop, apart from our few leaders. Ignacy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hello there. You had quite an eventful race all the time.
Yes, I did.
We were being chased down in the final few laps by Emo Plate and Javier Evgeny. How was the race from your perspective?
Oh, it was all about fuel saving. The Alpine has a very little fuel tank, so I don't think I've completed a lap where I could push. I had to lift off before every corner and on every straight, but I made it work.
And how were the final laps when you were being chased by guys on a fresh rubber? Enough fuel to push?
Well, I knew I just had to stay ahead after the straight. I knew I could keep them behind in the corners, because that's where the Alpine is quick. So when I saw that they couldn't catch me on the straight, they were too far back, I knew I had it.
So just some thoughts about the race. We saw qualifying in a dry. There was a chance of rain after the qualifying. We were chatting maybe the race will be different, but we saw rain. How were you thinking about it when you saw yourself on the grid with the rain falling down?
Well, I was thinking I was going to try to make it work without pitting. I was calculating if I will have enough fuel. I didn't really think how the car will, because I've never driven it in the rain, so I just took it how it was.
So, P4, or that was it after a win in Hungary, would you call it a satisfying result?
Given how prepared I was and the car I was in, that's more than fine. You know, you can't take all races seriously.
Well, it's all a little bit of fun in these races. Thank you for your insights on your race, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you on track in RWB again.
See you. Thank you.
All right, well, a great race there. In the end, Eldar came out, but great driving for all the drivers there. Good to see, and another good race done. I think something like 18 drivers finished. I think maybe 17, but still plenty of cars. Great action in the wet at Paul Ricard, and great to watch as well.
It was great race. Great advertisement for sim racing. You can heard from Ignacy Buczek, it is about having fun. So if you saw this race and you're thinking like, I wanna be part of that, feel free, join us in RWB International. We're organizing many events for people outside of ACC, also on R Factor 2 and other sims. We'll be really happy to see you on track. No matter how skilled you are, there will be always place for you here on RWB. It was me, Racer Soul, commentating for you with Cool Manic, and we are out. Goodbye.
Goodbye.